what happened in past 15 years to your life?
Wow, a lot. I've continued to play drums quite a bit.
Wow.
I've continued to tour the world quite a bit. Since 1995, I've toured with 2 Japanese artists. I've toured with Udo Lindenberg twice from Germany. I've toured with Cher extensively. I've done 3 tours with Pink.
Mm-hmm.
I did a tour with Velvet Revolver when Matt Sorum broke his hand. And I've done a lot of sessions. I've released a brand new DVD called A Day in the Recording Studio. I'm coming out with my first signature snare drum with Gretsch.
Cool.
And I've played on a variety of different records, and I've produced a variety of different artists. And probably the greatest accomplishment is I have a 6.5-month-old baby daughter. 22 years ago, I got a DW endorsement. I'd already bought the kit. And then I joined Foreigner in 1992, and Mapex was just being launched. Mm-hmm. And they came to me and asked me if I wanted to endorse the drums. And they sent me some drums, and I liked the drums. I said, sure, I'll endorse the drums. So I endorsed Mapex for a couple of years, but I found that the hardware, I liked the drums, but the hardware was so poorly made it was breaking. Mm-hmm. And I actually got the Simple Minds tour, and we were setting up, Mapex was making a rack at the time, and we broke 8 clamps on the rack while setting it up, and I said, you know what, that's it. So I left, and then I joined Yamaha briefly because I just needed to find a company because I was touring all over Europe with Simple Minds, and I didn't want to be without a company. So I joined with Yamaha, and that actually went quite well, but I found that I didn't have any relationship with all the different countries, and the relationship in America didn't feel that great. And then I got asked by Pearl and by the German distributor to sign a deal with Pearl. So I was with Pearl. I've always been with Sabian. I've been with Vic Firth for years and years. So I was Pearl, Sabian, Vic Firth, and I was doing a lot of stuff in Europe and Germany. And then the Mapex started courting me again because they'd completely redone their hardware, and I was really very good friends with the artist relations guy from Mapex. So I decided to go back to Mapex, and I was with Mapex for a couple of years, and I had started endorsing Gibraltar, and Gretsch was coming on the scene, and I'd always loved Gretsch. But I knew that there were a lot of distribution problems with Gretsch in the 80s and 90s, so I didn't really consider joining that company. Although 90% of the sessions I did were on Gretsch drums. When I played with Simple Minds, and I recorded that record, I was using one of Jeff Porcaro's old Gretsch kits, and they were actually flying the Gretsch drums around the world because we recorded in 4 studios. U2 studio in Ireland, their studio in Scotland, a studio in Wales, and 2 studios in Los Angeles. So they could have bought 3 drum sets for the amount it cost, but they loved that drum set. So, back to the Mapex story, Mapex kept on getting new presidents in America. And they got a president, and the A&R guy, who was a very good friend of mine, Seamus, he said, I think this guy's going to fire me. And I said, I'll talk to him, I'll find out. So we went to the trade show, and I had lunch with the president, and he assured me that he wasn't going to fire Seamus. 2 weeks later, he fired Seamus. And I said, that's not an honorable man. And by that point, I knew that Gretsch was completely together. Gretsch had joined forces with KMC. Now they're owned by Fender. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go to Gretsch. And I was like a little kid because I'd always wanted to play Gretsch drums. And that was 2002. And I wouldn't even think of changing because I'm very, very happy. So endorsements have to do with, of course, first and foremost, you want to really love the gear that you're playing. But there's also relationships. And so that's the priority. As long as I like the gear, I'll stay. If I like the gear but the relationships aren't good, then I have to consider, better options as well. And so that's what motivates me. And I don't want to change. I don't like switching around with different companies. I've been with Sabian for 22 years. I've been with Vic Firth for nearly 20 years. But I am officially endorsing a new head company. I've just signed with Evans. I had been with Remo for 20 years, and that's a big change for me. But I'm very happy to be on board with Evans, and of course I endorse Shure microphones, and who else am I leaving out? Stag cases and Steinberg Audio. I've been a Cubase user for about 18 years. And I'm very happy with my companies and the products.
Cool. Back to the origin. How did you get to playing drums?
Oh, drums chose me. I was born always loving drums. My mom said I used to run around the house doing beatbox before beatbox was cool. And as the story goes, I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. And I was so excited by the music because I always loved music. And my brother Randy is 6 years older than I. And he was always playing music. And I found out about the Beatles, and I love the Beatles. And then I saw them on TV, and I saw John, Paul, and George, and I said, that's great. Then they showed a close-up of Ringo, and it was like, I want that. I just knew. And then I saw the Screaming Girls, and I said, I want that. Close the deal, yeah. So my parents didn't really want me to play drums. I started playing cello first.
Yeah, that was my next question.
And I was taking cello lessons because my brother's playing violin, and my godfather, my Uncle Ben, was teaching my brother violin. So I walked in and my parents said, you want to play an instrument? I looked at the cello. I said, that looks good. So I started playing cello. And actually, I did enjoy it. But after a while, my heart and soul was in drums and rock and roll and groove music and jazz. And so I eventually gave up cello. But then when Pink was going on tour last year, they hired a violinist, Jesse. And when I knew that Jesse was in the band, I thought, I got to play cello. This is going to be great. And it turns out that Eva, the bass player, plays stand-up bass. And Pink has a song called I Don't Believe You, and there's no drums and there's strings. So I kept on telling Pink and the musical director, Paul, I'm like, I play cello. I play cello. So they said, okay, well, bring your cello. We'll try that song in rehearsal. And the song's in G, which is, 1 sharp, very easy to play with a string instrument. So we sit down to play the song. I'm about to start playing, and then Pink's playing guitar. She doesn't play guitar much. And she goes, oh, it's too low. She capos up to A flat. And I'm thinking, oh, no. So then I couldn't even play. I had to go relearn everything in half positions. But that's my claim to fame is I play cello with Pink. I don't consider myself really much of a cellist, but... and I actually got called to do a couple of sessions, and I had to tell them, no, hire a real cello player. I could just play long notes in A flat. That's it, Okay.
So the cello is the only other instrument you play at tour?
No, I play guitar and keyboards to write. I don't play any other instrument worth recording, but I have a lot of harmonic understanding, and I studied harmony and theory. I do a lot of composing and arranging. I will arrange string parts, and so I have to work things out. I get to work things out on a chordal instrument, so I can make my way around the keyboard. I'm better on the guitar. I usually write on guitar. But I would never call myself a guitar player like Dave Grohl, who can actually play guitar.